All right, so one other thing that is really important for the piano part is learning how to switch between sounds. If you go to the piano section, we got a little knob that says list on it. That is going to allow you to flip through different pianos. But then within the piano select section, you also have different kind of keyboards. So you can go through like an electric piano, um, an upright piano, just all kinds of stuff. So to get to that section, you got to click on category, hold that down, move the knob, and that's going to flip through different sounds. So we're going to go to electric piano. And that's going to give us all of the different electric pianos that the Nord has. Some effects that I would use on electric pianos would be the tremolo, and that's in effect 1. So to get to the trem part, you're going to double click until you get to the tremolo. You're going to see that it's going to add a little bit of movement. You can fix the rate. That's going to make it faster. Amount. I usually tend to pick a slower one, especially for like background music. Kind of let the chord kind of fade out. Just adds a little bit of movement there just so it doesn't die out so quickly. Another thing that I would add would be in the amp simulator or EQ section is the drive, just to add a little bit of punch to it. So I'm going to show you what it sounds like if it's all the way up. Basically overdrive or distortion, that's what you're adding to it. So we're going to use very little, and it activates when you hit it a little harder. So if you play soft, you won't really hear it. As you can hear, it just kind of gives it a little bit of a punch. That's a good effect to add to electric pianos. And sometimes even the grand piano can use a little bit of a drive just to kind of give it more of a punch when you hit those chords down. That's probably as much as I would do in that section for the piano. And then the next section I want to talk about is the organ. I know it looks like there's like a lot going on in this section with all these lights, but basically what these lights is basically a drawbar or stops, whatever you want to call it. They just each represent different organ pipes. So you got like a 16-foot, 8-foot pipe, 4-foot pipe, and on. That's what those numbers stand for. So like when you're playing it, you're just adding each of those pipes into that sound. So this can come handy in some songs that, might need an organ. Sounds good to even just mix it with the piano sometimes. But that's basically how that works. You can just add it however you want. And this section also has kind of a drive. Just to add a little bit more of a punch on there using the rotary speaker. So you can get some cool sounds out of it. So the last section that I want to talk about is the synth section, and this part can be kind of intimidating with all those knobs and buttons, but basically what you really need to know in this part is the frequency knob, which is highlighted red, and that's basically going to make your sound either bright or dark. And it's a good one to know because by simply moving that knob, it can add a lot of dynamics to your sound, especially going from like verse to chorus. If you're playing pads, you got like a little bit of a darker sound. Maybe you're going into the chorus. That's basically what that section does. Anything else, I probably wouldn't mess with a whole lot, but just remember that the on button is right under the volume knob. I would just keep that on all times, and if you don't want pads in that song, just turn the knob down, the volume, and go from there, and then you can kind of just mix it with the piano. We're going to switch back here to our piano sound. So next I want to show you how you can incorporate the synth section with the piano section to add a little bit of background music. So we're going to start with our piano sound. Our pad is always on, which is on the synth section. We're going to adjust the frequency to where we want it. Probably bring it down, make it a little darker so it's not as in your face. Bring up the volume just a little bit more. Having the pad in there really allows you to kind of not be as busy with the piano. You can drop out many times and not feel like you have to add a whole lot, especially if you're doing this under like someone speaking. You can really pull back on the piano part and just kind of let the pad carry out the sound. One thing that I think helps too is kind of breaking out of a tempo and not feeling like you're on a click. Just kind of like making up your own tempo and just really dragging it out, I feel like really helps to kind of set the mood and not make it feel like you're just like on this metronome. It might make it feel more rushed. So just really slowing it down and really just kind of feeling the room, setting the atmosphere. I'm adding a little bit of delay. Maybe you need to make it a little bigger. back down to soft, dark. So you can kind of just play around with that depending on the mood and where the speaker is going or whatever you're doing to add background. Um, Definitely follow the emotions and just kind of the tone that is um, being portrayed by the speaker. You know, if the speaker is getting into it and getting more intense or whatever it is, you know, just follow that with the piano by adding more, and little things like the frequency can add a lot to that on the pad, especially if you're not playing piano. One more thing on the pad that I would add is, if you're just adding background music with the pads, is also keeping that simple, because with the pads it's not as smooth when you do different chord progressions, especially if you have a lot of chords in there. So one thing that I like to do is just kind of hold down the 1 and the 5, and then I add the 1 at the very top. So if I'm playing an E major, that would be E, B, and E. So I would kind of just hold down that right hand, maybe bring the frequency down a little bit so it's not as bright. And then I would just change chords with the bass. Just nice and smooth. I'm slowly adding the piano in. And this is why I leave all the sections on, is because I can add these on the fly without having to cut the sound. Especially if you're going into a song. I'm eventually going to transition into full piano and take less pad. So yeah, as you can see, having all of those on really helps you to be able to add things, take away, without having to flip through sounds or cutting the sound. That's why basically I like to have all of those on. And if I want to add things like reverb, delay, add piano to it, take away piano, add pads, then it's all there ready to go. I just got to turn the volume up, either up or down. And it makes it really, really simple to be able to do stuff like that. Especially if you're trying to go from one song to the other and you don't want to like ever cut the sound. You want to make sure that the sound kind of continues through, and you can be ready to go with the piano and take away the pad by just moving the volume knob. So I would encourage you to do that, and just like I said, just get in here, play around with it, see what you can do, and you kind of have to mix it as you go. So good luck.